you can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even try.
Mm-hmm.
No one's ever going to pay. You can't pay your bills with this.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a side hustle. You need to go to university and you need to get a piece of paper and a degree, and this is the only way you'll ever survive. And I started to, really personalize any rejection. I started to look at people's facial expressions and little nuances, and I was like, oh my God, they don't like it. And one of the biggest ones is the struggling artist mentality.
Oh yeah.
When I stopped questioning my prices, people stopped questioning my prices, and they were like more than happy to pay.
Welcome to another video. Today I'm joined by a dear friend of mine, Tristan, who is absolutely incredible. She is a life alignment coach, but she can tell you a bit more about that. And she also used to be a jewelry designer. So we're going to chat today about getting started. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about you and
Hi guys,
skills?
So great to be here. Hello Meg.
Hello Tris.
So nice to be in the same country as you. It's
know.
been many years. So yes, my name is Tristan Storm. I am a life alignment coach and jewelry designer for many years. I had my own jewelry business for over 7 years. And then sort of transitioned into coaching.
Exactly. And we're going to be talking about the fear of getting started. And this is going to actually be a 2-part video. So the first part is going to be on my channel. And the second part is going to be her very first YouTube video. So head over there. We'll put the link down below underneath so you can go and check that out and give her some love and support. She is absolutely incredible, and we're talking all things mindset related, life alignment. So the course that I took that she did was absolutely and utterly amazing. Basically full life body. You can explain better than me.
So the life alignment legacy course looks at all areas of life. So on my channel, we'll be looking at work-life balance, and it's a bit of BS, right? Because it's these two separate opposing ideas as opposed to looking at how do we touch every aspect of our life in every day, right? So it's not like I'm only focused on my career or my relationships, that we're really touching each aspect. So alignment, I think, is essentially what we weren't taught as how to be a human being and live in this chaos, live with the chaos, surf the chaos, as opposed to trying to have all your beep together all the time. And just really equipping ourselves with super potent, powerful, transformational tools to be able to navigate the ebbs and flows.
Yeah. So when did you start being a jewelry designer, and then when did you transition into the coaching? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So jewelry I picked up when I was traveling through South America. I learned macrame, which is an amazing ancient weaving technique. And I just really fell in love with that craft of weaving and making beautiful jewelry. I've always loved crystals, so being able to combine the weaving technique and crystals was amazing. So that was probably 2012. And then 7 years in my jewelry business. And it was quite interesting because obviously in the beginning it was, as I think for most of us, right, it starts out as a hobby. It's like, oh, I want to make my friend a present. And then your friend's like, oh, I want one of those for my friend. And so it kind of, organically grew into a business. And then I've the coaching I was kind of doing alongside the jewelry all along, but was quite scared to step into that, scared to step in and own what I really knew to be my volition and my absolute passion. And so the jewelry was kind of like a beautiful creative outlet that also allowed me to, because every piece is an intentional little work of art, and it was a way of being able to kind of infuse that intention and share that magic with someone, but all the while kind of holding my coaching like, oh, it's there, but I need another course and I need another thing because I'm not quite ready yet.
Again, fear of starting.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And like in terms of, I'm sure other jewelry designers, when you're starting, you have an idea of who you're making for, or you just make what you like. Like, do you want to tell me a bit about how you started to figure out that aspect of the business?
So initially when I started, I was just making whatever I could. So like, as a piece came through, I was like, oh, this is a pretty color, this is a pretty stone. And I just kind of would make what I liked, essentially, what I thought people would like. And, that feeling of standing in a market and you've got all of your stuff there on display, and it feels super, exposing and comfortable and vulnerable. And I started to, really personalize any rejection. I started to look at people's facial expressions and little nuances, and I was like, oh my God, they don't like it. And the way that I kind of moved through that was every time I sat down to make a piece, I would visualize the person I was making it for. So this is kind of where I started to combine my mindset, coaching tools, and started to infuse it into my business, which I think was the game changer for me. Was sitting down and visualizing the person I was making it for and how it would make them feel when they put it on. Like, I feel like a warrior princess, or I feel like a goddess, or just kind of really getting into that state, that feeling as I was making it, and releasing any outcome in terms of like when it should sell by, any of that stuff, just I'm making it for someone. And it was so amazing what started to happen, that, a piece would be on the table for like 2 years. And all of a sudden, this person would come and put it on, and I would recognize the person. I'd be like, oh my God, you are the person that I made this for.
When I used to do my recycled clothing business, when I used to live in Cape Town.
I was a big fan of
the Dangleries. You rocked them.
I did. I really did.
And I just remember as well, like, seeing people trying things on at the market as well, and just being like, yes, that's who I had in mind when I made it. I literally had an idea of the kind of person, and they arrived and I was like, it's you. And they went straight for the thing. I was like, yes, it's you. Yeah. I totally forgot about that, actually. It's so true, though. Because you have, like, when you have a clear idea of, like, who it's for.
Yeah.
It's like in the course, obviously, I talk about identifying your target audience and how important that is, because you're connecting with them on certain shared values and things, and you're like, yes, this is for you. Like, I had you in mind.
Yeah.
I mean, you would take it another level. You specifically visualized the person themselves.
It was more the feeling of what the piece would make that person feel.
Yeah.
Because, we're constantly creating our future from the state that we're in the present moment. So I felt by utilizing those sort of tools, it took away the fear of needing the thing to sell, firstly, the fear of rejection, because what I realized was, it's just not for you.
Exactly.
It's just not for you.
And that's totally fine, right?
You're not going to be everyone's cup of tea.
Exactly, and you shouldn't be.
And you shouldn't be. And I think that oftentimes we are just too scared to put our stuff out there, Jewelry, I always felt like it's a little piece of your soul, and you're making this thing, you're putting your love, you're pouring bits of your soul into this item, and that someone gets to kind of walk around with a little bit of you with them is actually quite a privilege.
Yeah.
And to recognize and to kind of reframe it in that way, to see that, if this person is kind of pulling up their nose a little bit at it, that it's just not for them, that they actually don't have any, like, you don't really want them walking around with a piece of your soul if they're not going to value what it is,
Exactly. I'm curious, did you make like all one-off pieces, or did you?
Yeah. So like this is one.
I was going to say.
Yeah. So it's got a little bit of the macrame at the back, and then beautiful Mexican fire opal in the front.
Nice.
And then so I did macrame and kind of mixed it with some metals and feathers. Just all kind of combinations. Also did beautiful tiaras. I really like the type of jewelry. It was really like this sort of Amazonian warrior goddess feeling, and so at festivals or parties, and there's like a woman would walk up, and then she'd walk out with her tiara on, and she'd walk away feeling more empowered, feeling more herself. And that's
so interesting that you said, because like I feel like that's what we say about like the reason you're making jewelry isn't like the money. Like you can go and get another boring job, whatever. You're making it because you have a drive or like a passion to do it for some reason, and the fact that it's like bringing joy to people's lives and all that is so incredibly beautiful. So like infusing that happiness into their lives, maybe could that have been like hints of you wanting to be a coach?
100%.
Making people happy.
100% for me. I've always known that sort of accessing people's fullest potential or helping people to expand, and to step into more of themselves has always been my deepest passion. And the jewelry was just I suppose that gateway into that world, because it's such a physical, tangible thing. You put on a piece of jewelry or you put on a dress, and it changes your state of being.
Totally.
And so for me, with the coaching side is I'm working specifically on that state of being now,
Yeah.
being able to really anchor yourself as opposed to it necessarily coming through an item or an object, or you're having your hair done. It's really just that internal state activation, which you learned a little bit about in the course.
And it's so funny because I was just thinking now, even me, like even though I knew you and I knew the course would be good because I'd done other like your shorter courses, but still I was like hesitant to do it because of that like fear of change, like, you know, that kind of like I knew it would be good for, but it was funny, it was like a kind of a bit of a block at first, but then I was like, no, I need to do it. But there was that whole like, okay, I'm doing it. Okay, but no. Okay, but yes. And like with another retreat thing I went on as well, I also had that whole like, it's good for me, I want it, but then like some kind of like back behind voice saying like, no, like no, you shouldn't. Yeah. And then like trying to choose which voice to listen to. It's like, do I go with the yes, do it? Or do I go with the like, no, and stay safe? But it's funny, but then obviously I did it, and I'm like so beyond grateful that I did, because like, oh my gosh.
Good old inner critic over there trying to keep us safe. And this is the thing, I think, you know, looking at this theme of sort of just getting started or stepping out of that comfort zone, it's so scary because this is familiar, this is known, this is like, you know, I make my jewelry for my friends, like it's safe, I'm not charging for it, like it's a safer realm to be in.
And also attaching like a monetary value to it as well.
Oh, because then it's personal, you know, then the self-worth stuff comes up, oh, so deliciously, right? And it's scary, and a lot of times I've actually realized it's not even the fear of failure that is a component of it. A lot of times we really fear our own success, we fear our own greatness, we fear what does it mean to stand fully and completely sort of naked in the wholeness of your being. That's very terrifying.
It's terrifying, I know. I definitely find it terrifying. Oh, geez, sorry, my chair. I should probably just switch this chair. Yeah, exactly. Like fearing your own potential was something I kind of wasn't sure if I was or wasn't, but like doing the course, like actually I am. And it's like that fear of judgment, like growing up in South Africa, like I think speaking to you really helped because you also grew up here. And it's like, I personally felt guilty just for like wanting more than I had, because I was like, I have so much more than so many people and I should just be grateful for what I have. But actually, like, you know, I'd love to be able to help my mum out better and, you know, certain things. So I had to be like, it's not a selfish thing to want to put myself in a better position. And like you saying as well, like being able to help other people, like, and that's like, I really love that as well. That's kind of why I started my coaching business, because like I love helping people. Like it makes me so happy, like seeing people like thrive and like blossom and, you know, fully get into themselves. And
we can only really do that from a place of overflow.
Exactly.
Otherwise we burn out, we deplete, we're overgiving, people pleasing. None of those strategies work. It really does have to come from a space of
I have so much
of owning it, owning what's coming through you, your craft. You know, it's especially as jewelry designers, which I'm sure most of you watching are. It's this beautiful thing that wants to come through you, source flowing through you, whether it be art, whether it be jewelry, whatever it is, it's coming through you. And I think that recognition of allowing it to come through, adding value into the world, that value is reflected back to you. And you know, we live in 3D physical reality, so financially that value is reflected back. And the more we recognize that what we're creating is this work of art, the more we can allow that value to reflect back and to own that. We need, in order to really be thriving ourselves, to be able to reach out and help other people, we need to come from that space of overflow, which means being able to receive.
And price your jewelry
correctly, please. Not just like giving it away for free. I think that was a massive turning point in my business when I recognized that I was pricing it according to my lack of self-worth.
Exactly.
You know, I was like, oh, what would I pay for something?
Me too. I would say as well, what would I be willing to pay for it? Which was next to nothing. Because one, I had made it.
broke and you had all your limiting beliefs around money.
Massively. Exactly. Like I have a whole section in the course about money mindset specifically, because it's a big one. Hey, sheesh. It's a big one.
It's huge. And I think, like you were saying, growing up in South Africa, we all have not only our belief constructs that we get, and we'll chat about this more in part 2, but we get sort of given this template, this framework of belief constructs from our family, from society, from, you know, the country we grow up in. And there's so much lack and limitation when it comes to abundance.
Yeah.
When it comes to money, when it comes to charging for things, you know, and especially as an entrepreneur, we've got bills to pay, you know, like you can't be undercharging.
And also the thing is, like, often I think that people don't charge well for it because they think, I enjoy it, I love it, so it wasn't hard work, so therefore give it for free or like next to nothing. But like you're talking about my dad, like he was incredible. He used to fix everything. He was like, anything mechanical, he would absolutely just fix. And he kept our entire mountain, the village where I grew up, running, basically. And when he passed away, everyone was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? But basically, he would charge next to nothing. So tourists would come, they'd have like a broken down car on a Sunday afternoon, and he'd fix it and literally charge them like 20 Rand, which is like 1 cent, basically, like nothing at all. And be like, no, it's fine, don't worry. Because he enjoyed giving and he enjoyed doing that, but he was broke as hell. Like, my parents didn't have much money growing up. And that's kind of like and it's like also that idea of like, you being greedy because you want to charge is a big one. I still need to be like, no. Like, it's an exchange and people value it. And
the ironic thing is people value things more when you value them, because it's an inside out approach, right? So if I know how much time, I mean, some of my pieces would take 7 hours. 7 hours of time, 7 hours of love, 7 hours of passion poured out, you know, through your hands. It's hard to put a price on that because you know, what is an hour of your time worth? And I think for me, I always found like my pricing to be quite intuitive. Like absolutely that love, that passion is there, but you also have to value it. You have to have that intrinsic sort of real knowingness of what this thing is you feel comfortable with, you know?
Exactly.
And then the other person, I found this so often, as soon as I switched that, the person didn't question my prices anymore. When I stopped questioning my prices, people stopped questioning my prices, and they were like more than happy to pay because intrinsically I knew the value of what it was. And people feel that.
And because people don't have any concept of the amount of effort that's gone into it. But the price tag you put on it gives them an indication of that.
Exactly. I think for a lot of people, we have, you know, we're talking about the sort of cultural belief constructs, right? A collective conscious beliefs. And one of the biggest ones is the struggling artist mentality.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Which is, you can't make money doing what you love, right? It's so echoed from so many different people as well, you know, school teachers, parents, grandparents, is we are so quick to give up on our dreams. We are so quick to throw in the towel and be like, this is impossible. I could never, this is a hobby. This is a passion project. I can't make money. I can't make a good, thriving, you know, life. I need to be this or that. And that really is just a belief construct.
Totally.
And, you know, when you start to dismantle that and recognize that actually you are here to do what you love, you are here on this planet to literally allow whatever is needing to flow through you to come through you. And that you will be abundantly rewarded in that. We can get out of our own ways a little bit more easily. But it's such a deep-rooted, deeply entrenched belief. Artist, if you're going to go that avenue, you will struggle. And the tricky thing about beliefs is they're hard to kind of dig out because they're so, it's that voice you were talking about earlier, that subtle little, you can't do this, don't even try, no one's ever going to pay, you can't pay your bills with this, this is just a side hustle. And that really is that belief speaking that we've been told that you absolutely can't.
Exactly.
You know?
Or we've even if it's not verbally told, we see in society that kind of like judgment around it. And like I remember, it's funny when you're talking, I remember things. When I was at university, we had a little party at our house, and I shared a place with some students studying different things. and a friend of theirs came over and she was like, oh, so what are you studying? And I said, art. And she was like, oh, you're one of those arty-farty types, are you? And then she says, well, so my aunt is an artist and she makes a lot of money, so I guess it's okay. And it's just like word for word, I just remember what she said, because I was just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, it's just that kind of like arty-farty type. Even that sentence.
What does
it's
that
just
even
like,
mean? It's like
it's judgy. Like, even just...
But so if we look at that, you know, that judgment that you talk about, so a lot of that is someone else's internalized insecurity. For example, bless my granddad, but that's where I got that narrative from. It's like, you need to go to university and you need to get a piece of paper, and this is the only way you'll ever survive. And that really is something that has been hard for me to kind of unpick in the back of my mind. But for him, it was coming from, he was also super creative. But yeah, I couldn't go for it, you know.
Yeah.
He was an entrepreneur. He went in that direction, but he went in, you know, in a completely the opposite direction. And I think that's the case for a lot of people, is that they give up on their own dreams. You know, if we look at maybe even our parents or our grandparents, they've given up. Therefore, the narrative that they're carrying is that, well, they couldn't do it. I want to save you.
Yes.
I want to make
I've
sure that
learned-
you don't go through the pain.
Yeah.
Let me squash your dreams for you.
Let me squash them now
me
before
squash
they,
them,
before they get anywhere.
You know, other clients of mine as well are having this belief that, like, hey, you know what, I don't want to try because the pain of failure would just be too intense. So just squash the dream now.
Yeah.
Get yourself a nice 9 to 5. You know, go mainstream. And unfortunately, that you can't quiet that passion deep within you that's saying, hey, I have to do this.
Exactly. But also, like, sometimes the idea of starting also kind of is like, then it's official, you will succeed or you won't succeed.
Yes. You're on track.
But then if you try it and you don't succeed, then it's official, you're a failure, it didn't work. But if you always keep it there, oh, I want to do this, or you know, like couch idea people who like, oh yeah, I'd love to start a jewelry business or whatever.
One day
when I do this, and it's still this dream that is potentially achievable. But then if you actually do something towards it, you know what I mean? Like then it's like, oh shit, I'm not.
Now I'm here, now I have to do it. And I think just in terms of mindset, again, some tools that really help here is defining what success, which is what we started the course with, right? Was defining what is success, what is failure.
Yeah.
That's the starting point, is recognizing that you are the meaning maker. You have to give it meaning.
Yeah.
So if I believe failure is getting a couple of negative comments on my YouTube channel, I'll get that and then be like, okay, I'm throwing in the towel, because now that's my definition of failure.
But on that note, because obviously I started my YouTube channel and I was terrified too. I thought the exact same thing as you, and I was like, people are going to watch this, they're going to think, oh, you know, there's so many other people who know way more than me, is what I always thought. And I was like, obviously there are, and like, you know, I've got my jewelry skill set and it works for me and I can create a successful business with it. But in terms of other talents out there, I was like, oh my god, who the hell am I to think I've got anyone to listen to?
Look, that belief.
Like, exactly. But then I was like, also terrified of negative comments, because, you know, when you put stuff on internet, people love to be able to comment something negative because whatever. And I have had like a few negative comments in the past 2 years. Literally 2 of them I can only remember. I think there was 3, maybe one, nothing so much. But basically, like, even in the one comment, that person probably doesn't watch my channel anymore. They said that their stepmother had just passed away. So, like, obviously, I just was like, I'm sorry, you know, like, obviously they're ranting projecting and having a hard time. And it's knowing that anyone who is giving a negative comment, it's something that's going on in them and it's not you at all. Yeah. And I'd rather go through the momentary discomfort of me feeling awkward in front of a camera and look at the positive that it has brought, because hopefully you guys are enjoying the videos and finding value from them. Reading 99.9% of the comments, people are enjoying it. Yeah. And those are the people that I do it for. I don't do it for the 1% haters who are having a bad day and they don't know how to communicate something or whatever, and you
need to learn some communication skills.
Exactly. But I'm not doing it for them, and I'm not going to take away the benefit that I'm giving to everybody else because of that potential. And it's even a potential. It probably will not even happen. Like
it's that fear of it happening.
It's the fear of it happening, but it happened. so what?
Yeah.
I just felt sorry for the person because I was like, you're having a hard time. Like, I feel you. And I
Which
just
is-
ignored the negative things and I just
Absolutely.
said, you know, I hope you're doing okay. And like, I never ever, if someone says something, I'm never going to start an argument. Like, I'm just not rise above it. I'm not getting involved in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, when you start to see that it's someone else's insecurity, someone else's jealousy is such an interesting
Yeah.
thing as well. You know, like people often throw some shade because they inside really would love, they admire the fact that you
Yeah.
being vulnerable, because it requires, you know, sitting in front of a
Yeah.
camera, it requires a level of exposure, of vulnerability, which is in our culture, we're so desperately afraid. Everyone's walking around with their armor on, so afraid to be seen. But the actual, what really, really, really speaks to people is that being brave enough to be vulnerable, being brave enough to show up, being
It's
brave
super
enough
inspiring.
to throw down the armor and be like, hey, here I am.
Exactly.
And I think the depersonalizing is such an important part of that process. Is like you said, I'm doing this for those people, you know, and it's one thing to kind of do that with your jewelry and be brave enough to kind of make the thing, know who you're making it for, and, you know, be patient until it finds the person. And then another to market yourself.
Yeah.
To put yourself, to literally be like, hey, here I am, world, big world. And I think such a big shift for me, mindset-wise, was recognizing that, yes, there's 1,000 people that do what you do. There's experts that know way more, that have more experience, but no one can do what you do in the way that you do it.
And also, when people buy from like an actual human designer maker, they're buying you as well. Like you said, it's a piece of your soul in it. Because they're buying
your energy,
like you've created, and they want to be reminded of it. Like this little ring here,
So
you know, nothing super fancy, but it's from a brand here, DRA, and I love it, and it just reminds me of the whole vibe, and I just like it, and it's because of that. And I think that's also, something really beautiful that comes from doing your own jewelry.
Everything has a story behind it, you know, and I think what I loved, as much as I feared doing markets, what I really loved about it was telling the story, being able to be with a person and telling the story behind the piece, because every piece has a story, right?
Yeah.
Like, I remember one piece that I was making, I made like 3 or 4 mistakes. And I mean, with macrame, it's literally these tiny knots. And to anybody else,
Can't see it.
cannot see it. To me, all I see is the flaws. And I kind of feel like this is such a important metaphor for life and how we kind of treat ourselves internally as well. Is if you're just highlighting the flaws or the fears,
I'm just laughing because basically I had a whole video where I was like, don't be at a market and point out the flaws.
Oh, you know, when I was making this, I made this, and this mistake. But I actually, what I noticed about that was when I started to see, cool, I know that I made the mistake, and that inner critic is there to help us improve. It's there to help us evolve, to do better, because we want to do better, right? But to sit and nitpick the imperfections, which actually just stop us from starting, from getting out there, because we're in our mind, it needs to be this whole perfect thing, as opposed to just like, this is perfect. What was made was perfect. And I found that as I shifted that internally, people would almost be like, oh my gosh, I love that it's slightly different on this side and on this side. And I'm like, oh, you mean the lack of symmetry because of the mistake that I made, that I was trying so hard to be perfectly symmetrical. Nothing in nature is symmetrical.
Exactly.
But people would love that. And yeah, it's so interesting because everyone has their unique lens of the world. And as soon as we, sort of dismantle that idea that, I mean, we can talk about perfectionism.
I was going to say,
as a whole
jewelry
whole
designers
thing.
are so inclined towards perfectionism. It's unbelievable.
It's huge because you want it to be perfect. You're putting this thing out there. But again, it's the story behind it, you know, and I love that. I loved sitting with someone and being like, you know, I chose this crystal means this thing, and, you know, this material comes from here, and I found this feather when I was walking in this. And people love it because, like you said, with this ring, it's what it reminds you. It's a talisman, right? It's a reminder. It's a symbol, especially jewelry. And you're wearing it. You're wearing that story, wearing the energy, wearing the intention. You're adorning yourself with that intention. And we're doing that in life all the time, right?
Totally.
We're giving things meaning. So we're either going, everything's flawed. This is flawed. You're flawed. You're flawed. You're flawed. Or looking at the beauty in the imperfections.
Yeah, exactly.
And just being, knowing that it can improve, you know,
Yeah.
putting something out there and then improving upon it. Doing a video, making another one, making another one, getting better every time.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is the idea of perfectionism in terms of like, the first thing I put out there must be perfect. And like,
You'll never start.
you will literally never
This is why I
start.
haven't done my first YouTube video.
Doing it.
We're doing it. Literally that. You know,
Exactly.
it's like,
I know.
it has to be perfect. I'm putting this thing out into the world.
I know, but you need to start messily. Like,
Yeah.
you will never have 100% of the information.
Yeah.
You just start with whatever amount you have. If you know you want to do it, then just give it a go. The next step will be clear. Then the next step will be clear after that. Like, things evolve.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know like even less than half the things when I started a YouTube channel about doing YouTube. But I just was like, right,
You learn
film
on the
first
go.
video, upload it, how to do that, okay. And thankfully Emil helped with that as well, because like I would not have done it by myself. So actually you guys have him to thank for the YouTube channel, giving me that push that I'm giving you now. So
Win-win. See, it comes full circle.
Exactly. So exactly, you know, like, and I think like it's rather than looking at other people and judging and being like, oh, you know, oh, look at that person, you know, like, I think that when you are doing something that you are passionate about, it's so inspiring to others, rather than what we think in our head, they're going to be judging me for, like, you know, putting
and they
myself
will,
on YouTube.
but then they need to look at themselves as to where that insecurity is coming from. And
But often it's because maybe they're jealous because they want to be doing
Exactly.
it, you know?
Exactly. And I think that's the beauty, is really just recognizing that, just putting it out there. Like, I mean, I've got two small kids, and when children learn to walk, they don't just get up and walk.
No.
It takes months of trial and error, of falling on your face, and it's very cute. But, you know, when we do it as adults, maybe not as gracefully, right? But it's about that learning to fall, recognizing that mistake. I love this reframe. I think you heard it a lot in the course. A mistake, right, is literally an opportunity just to take that again.
Yeah.
Do it again.
Exactly.
Do it again. It's not this thing that means, again, the meaning you give something will determine the way that you experience it. So if failure is making a mistake, of course you're going to give up. Of course you're going to stop right there when you make one mistake, because that's how you've defined failure. As opposed to seeing a mistake as, you know, we can do as many different takes on this video, cut and edit as many different times as we need to put it out there in a way that something that you can feel good about.
Exactly.
But recognizing that we're a beautiful work in progress.
Exactly.
Always.
We always are.
We
Exactly.
always are.
And it's great to look back at your first YouTube video in like a year's time and be like, oh, look how much I've
Your
learned.
first piece of jewelry, oh my gosh.
Exactly.
I actually saw a picture the other day of my first macrame necklace.
Oh, yeah?
I think I've never sworn as much while creating something. But it became, years later, looking at that piece, became such a beautiful symbol of how much I'd grown. Because that piece was literally the embodiment of self-loathing, fear, and it wasn't even that bad. Like, for my first, it was pretty cool. Like, looking at it now, I'm like, damn, if that was my first, and it just did keep getting better.
Yeah.
But looking at that first piece, you know, 12 years later, and seeing how beautiful it is, and then every single time recognizing that you're growing, you're evolving, as opposed to picking apart what is.
And
you know?
looking at your mindset then, when you created that, compared to now, worlds apart.
Beep, 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 beep. I suck. I'm never going to do anything.
No one's going to buy this.
No one's going to buy this. Someone did, and they loved it. And I was like, you know, I mean, I think I sold it for like 50 rand.
It's so funny. Like, I don't think you probably watched the YouTube video, but I literally said, like, keep your first piece for that exact reason.
Yeah.
Because it's such a reminder of like how far you've come. Because like at this time now, looking at your skill set and stuff, it's easy to forget like where you were and where you came from, and like seeing that the mistakes in it, like seeing how much your mindset shifts. It's just so beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Exactly.
And it's I think that's it. It's always a work in progress.
Yeah.
And I feel like when we go deeper, which we'll do in part 2 now, into the mindset behind that, or the limiting beliefs behind that, and the self-talk.
Exactly.
You know, you did the inner critic workshop of ours, and either we befriend that voice and we work with it, because all it's really trying to do is make you better.
Yeah.
Not saying you're a piece of crap because you're not the best.
Yeah.
It's just trying to be like, hey, we can do better. We can do better.
Exactly.
Working with that voice as an ally.
Yeah.
Success is inevitable. It's inevitable because you've made it a non-negotiable.
And you know, like, also the thing is, like, in terms of even, like, again, fear of your own success or your own failure, I think part of my hesitation towards your course initially was the fear of my own success. But, like, having done it, like, for real, like, it was incredible, and I feel so much more empowered. But it's that thing about actually knowing when you need to fill in some gap, and, like, in terms of that, like, I had plenty skills, like, with the jewelry business, everything, but I still had that mental cap of, like, what my own self-worth was in terms of, like, how abundant I could be. And, like, you really helped me, like, shift that and be like, no, it's okay. Like,
ask for what you need, baby.
You know, like, there's nothing wrong with it, but kind of, like, digging below to why I felt that. Because you can't just say, don't feel it. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
But, like, me reaching out to you and, like, you know, being able to have that support is just such a blessing. So, thank you.
And look at us now. You're helping me with my first YouTube.
Goes around, comes around.
Love it. So circle.
Exactly. But yeah, I think, shall we dive deeper in your,
in your video?
Hop
over to my first video on my channel.
Yay! How
see
exciting!
you over there.
Yay!